Oh boy, there is so much weird and nasty and scary stuff that is going on, and the news is full of it all the time right now. Like last week, this Michigan boy, Tyson Benz, fatally hanged himself, right? So I want to reach out to an expert. We have Dr. Taaka Cash. She is a psychiatric mental health professional specializing in a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatry. Dr. Cash, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate your time coming on. So, I mean, how often are we getting these tragic stories? I mean, it was one thing when I was a kid that kids would bully, and we talked about how, not to be mean to other kids because you didn't wear the right clothes, you didn't have the right shoes. And now it seems like they bully to the point that people are killing themselves on social media. This is a whole new way of bullying.
Right. Actually, it's not a whole new way of bullying. It's actually just now getting airtime. I see it all the time in my clinic. As a matter of fact, we've been talking about it over the last 6 months with this new thing that's going around, this new thing that they're saying, hey, if you're not doing well, go hang yourself. And so a lot of our kids we're seeing in the clinic, their family, the aftermath, we're seeing that their kids have attempted suicide by hanging themselves, either via they got a text message, they were at school, peer pressure associated with academics. So it's not something that is new to that's new to us. It's actually been out there for a really long time. It's just out there, in the airwaves now.
Yeah, I'm sure that you're right statistically. It's just, my anecdotal personal experience. I remember a parent dying in a unintentional suicide when I was a kid, but I don't remember any kids dying. They died in motorcycle wrecks, they died in car wrecks,
Correct.
They died, in kind of and I hate to use it this way, but almost normal ways. But now it's like, people are so mean, the kids are being so mean to each other, and social media gives them this voice to do it, and kids are listening and following through. I don't understand what's going on where they go, oh, a suicide pact. I never, this was like in movies like Heathers or something when I was a kid, not in reality. So you're seeing a lot of this in your practice.
Correct. As a matter of fact, my most recent case was a 13-year-old boy who a few weeks ago, his father was putting him to bed, and he said, Dad, I've been thinking about this for a really long time, but I want to hang myself. And he said it just like that, just as bluntly. His dad was completely shocked. And so he immediately, the next day, took him to seek psych services because he was like, what in the world? How did we miss this? And so I don't know if you're familiar with the documentary and also book 13 Reasons Why, but that documentary truly is a great depiction of what kids are truly experiencing with social media, the pressures that are at school, and what they're, and how often they're actually exposed to this. They're exposed to this about 80% out of their day.
Oh, boy. Okay, so now I'm going to have to add 13 Reasons Why to my Netflix queue is exactly what you just told me.
Oh, my gosh. If you have not watched it, you're going to binge watch it this weekend and go, wow. It is amazing. It talks about sexual assault. It talks about social media. It talks about kids, how quickly a text message can ruin someone's life. And in this particular documentary, the girl had received a text message, and then the text message spread around school, and she ended up committing suicide. And so then the boy, he also ended up committing suicide because he felt like, hey, if I had not sent that text message, then we wouldn't be where we are today. And so there were so many people that were affected, not only the families who lost their children, but also we're looking at the people, their friends and their peers and their colleagues that are affected by this as well. And so, this is really becoming a huge issue that I'm so happy that, in spite of the unfortunate loss of a child, but it's getting the airtime that it deserves, because suicide is real. It is very real. And our children, we're seeing that they're having poor coping skills, that their immediate sense of gratification is that I'm not going to cope with this. I'm immediately going to do harm to myself.
Oh, man. Okay, so Dr. Taaka Cash is joining me on the phone right now. She is a psychiatric mental health professional. We're talking about our kids and social media. All right, so Dr. Cash, as a parent, I'm a parent. I have a 9-year-old son who's just beginning to that age where this is going to become a part of his life. what do I need to be aware of? What do I need to be doing as a parent to make sure that something like this would never, either my son doesn't participate in the bullying or is never the victim of the bullying? What do I need to do as a parent?
The first thing that I'm going to tell you is to watch 13 Reasons Why with your child.
Okay.
13 Reasons Why. It actually gives parents a true eye-opener into how to open up the lines of communication with your child, how to ask your child about depression, about bullying, breaking down the different dynamics. What I love about this story is that it truly allows different households to go, wait a minute, my child was right here in my house. How did I not see this? So the questions to be asked are, not how much homework do you have, but how can I be present for you today? Is there anything that happened during your day that you want to talk about? Is there anything that made you feel uncomfortable? How we actually phrase our questions, because a lot of the children, and it was based on teens that were in high school, that that their parents, when they would go home, the parents would ask them common questions. How was school? How's sports? All the pressures and things like that. But most kids were like, look, I don't want to talk to my parents because all we talk about is X, Y, and Z. They don't really care that about what I'm doing. And there was one key line in the story is that this girl said, I see my parents, but it's really interesting because my parents don't see me seeing them. Oh. And I thought that was so interesting, because what she was trying to articulate is that even in my space, and I spend this time at home, my parents don't even see me. They don't even validate me. They're not listening. And we could think as parents, because we're present and that we're there and we're providing shelter and we're working and we're doing all these great things, that we're actually doing a lot for our children. But these children want to know that we're here, we're present, that we're listening, and that we care.
Okay, that is great advice, and I will make sure that we add. My wife and I are going to watch this. We'll probably watch it first before we watch it with our son, I think, just we always do with everything.
Because it has, actually, before it even starts, it'll tell you, it'll give a disclaimer before each episode, like, hey, you may not want to have your child watching this, or it may not be age appropriate, but just definitely watch it before your child watches it, and pick and choose which one that you want to show your child. But it's a great depiction of how they should deal with bullying or deal with their peer pressures when they're at school. And they actually talk about the butterfly effect of how kids, they even showed a scene where kids were around and they got out all of their cell phones and they just started recording, this fight, this altercation, or this bullying. They just, they're so social media driven, and it distorts their perception of reality.
Oh, this is great stuff. I mean, it's great stuff. 13 Reasons Why is now in my Netflix queue. Dr. Taaka Cash, You're fantastic. I appreciate your time today. No, I mean that, and thank you so much for coming on the show. This is important stuff.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Dr. Cash, thank you very, very much.